Always officially welcome to Game Beyond the Game presents Talk That Talk, inspiring conversations with professional and elite athletes, where we inspire our audience as we explore finding our vision and purpose in life and discuss tools to overcome life transitions. My name is Sam Pearson II, your MC, and obviously joined with founder Prince Andrews Jr. How you feeling, Prince?
Man, I'm feeling grateful, blessed. I'm enjoying this weather that's in sunny San Diego. I'm not boasting, I'm just sharing, but it's
Yeah,
beautiful and and I feel great. So I'm feeling great. Thank you.
I feel like it's when the comedians used to talk about, how easy it'd be for weathermen to do like the weather in Africa. It's hot, hot. Like you ask somebody weather in San Diego, it's beautiful San Diego anyway. Yeah, no, great, man. Glad you're doing great, Prince. Now it's time for me to introduce a rock star guest, like I always do, and like we always do here at Game Beyond the Game. So I want to present to you all Malcolm Lemmons, who is a former professional athlete turned entrepreneur and author. He is the founder of Athletes Unheard, a digital media platform at the intersection of athletes and mental health. He is also a two-time author of Lessons from the Game and is the best-selling author of the book Impact Beyond the Game. And today we're going to be really intense about discussing mental health with athletes and beyond. Wherever you are, clap your hands, stomp your feet for Malcolm Lemmons. Malcolm, how you doing officially, man?
What's going on, fellas? Man, I'm loving the energy in here. Appreciate the opportunity and introduction.
Anytime and always, man. Let's hop right into it, man. Tell us where you're from, man. Tell us, and we know that you're the one and only Malcolm Lemmons. We know that. We talked about that before we hopped on. But tell us where you're from, man. Tell us what brings you here right now. Tell us about you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I'm a kid from Washington, D.C., born and raised. Grew up like most kids, wanted to pursue a dream of becoming a professional athlete, and I chased that throughout high school, college. Obviously comes with its fair share of obstacles and adversity, but I had my tunnel vision set on that dream. And so ultimately ended up, having the opportunity to go play overseas for a couple years in Japan, and just an incredible and valuable experience being able to travel the world and experience a different culture and, getting paid to do something I love. And, as with most athletes, you do that for a little while, then you transition out and you got to figure out the rest of your life. So been on this journey for about, 3-4 years now, trying to figure out my passion and purpose beyond the game, and just enjoying the process and enjoying life. So trying my best to, be an inspiration to the next generation coming up.
Awesome. I'm gonna throw something at you really quick, and then we'll just dive on in. So you mentioned playing in Japan, which I think is amazing, and being able to travel the world. Sometimes athletes, depending on the sport, they may feel like, okay, if it's not here in the States, then it's not going to happen, or I'm not able to adjust somewhere else. What was it like? We talk about transitions throughout this whole conversation, but what was it like being in other countries, and certainly being in Japan, as you mentioned before? How was that for you? Did that change you in any way?
It was terrifying at first. I mean, my first year playing overseas was the first time I've been out of the country, and so
Really?
yeah, I'd never been out the country before. So you think about Japan, it's on the other side of the world, and
Right.
Asian culture is completely different. I think in Europe you might feel a little bit at home more than you would in certain Asian countries. And so I got over there and I was lost. But the one thing it taught me was how to survive. That first year playing overseas, my first 2 weeks over there, I didn't have a bed. We weren't getting paid. The general manager of the team had gotten sick, so there was all type of issues. We were walking to practice. I had to walk a mile to get food and a mile back, and it was a disaster. And I ultimately ended up leaving early that year, but I learned more about myself just those couple months being in Japan and having to fend for myself than I have, ever in life. And so it taught me how to survive. It taught me how to be more open-minded and really see the world from a different angle. So I think I gained a better perspective being able to travel and immerse myself in a different culture more than anything else.
Did you ever get paid for being there? Oh man, there we go. He answered the question.
There's some people over there that still owe me a couple of dollars.
Let's ride out. We cut an interview short. We headed back east.
Arigato. You know?
Some people over there, you know, I gotta run some numbers over there. But we go say that for a different day.
Like that's a different interview. That's after hours. That's right. Game after hours.
Did you learn the language, man? You know, did you learn enough of the language to be able to navigate your way through the country?
So my second year, I went back to Japan and I was over there for a little while longer. And I actually started to pick up on a couple of things while I was over there. I taught myself how to speak just some basic, you know, Japanese so I can get around. And out in public, I needed to use the bathroom. So yeah, I learned it. But it's one of, you know, anything you got to consistently keep up with it for it to be fluent. And I've lost it now. I know a couple of words, but I can't get that well.
Man, so I've been to Japan. How was it for you, man? What did you like about it? You know, like I'll tell you, the one thing that I was fascinated by, and Stan, like when there's a certain area, right? You get off the subway, and there's a Starbucks there, and so the Starbucks is on the second floor, and you can look down and look at everybody crossing the street, and I kid you not, like as soon as the light would turn green, everybody would just be going in different directions, right? And so then everything would clear out, and then it'll fill right back up.
Yeah.
And like everybody's ready for the next light. I was like, wow, this is like clockwork. It was crazy, you know. So like, what was one of the things that you were fascinated about when you went there?
Yeah, I think you might be talking about Shibuya crossing. Yeah,
Shibuya, cross Shibuya road.
It sounds like a song to me. I don't know.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
Yeah, Shibuya is the place where you see in all the pictures and you know, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift with all the people crossing. So it's like one of the most popular roads in Tokyo. But I would say the thing that I love the most, I mean, the people were amazing. The people are very kind and shy, and there's just a culture of politeness and respect. I think Japanese people are very big on respect and honor, and I love that about them. And then how technology is crazy over there. I think in some aspects they're way more advanced than we are. You know, I would take the train everywhere, and their train system is just incredible. They got like three or four different trains on the same track, but they all go at different speeds. So if you want to skip a station, you would get on one train. If you want to touch every station, you would get on a different train. If you want to skip like 4 or 5 stations, you will get on a super bullet train. So it's like, depending on where you're trying to go or how fast you want to go, you can get on different trains, and that thing runs like clockwork. If you're not on there on the right time, they leave you.
It's funny because some places in the States are like, I don't know how we're gonna get a train to go from from a simple radius from one town to one town. Like, I don't think we can make it happen. Meanwhile, over in Japan, it's like, and I'll go a little bit deeper on that. Is there anything in Japan you like? You know what? If they had that in the States, we'd be better off, or it'd be better if we could adapt some of this in the States. Is there anything you ever think about?
But the train is definitely one of those things. You know, growing up in DC, that metro station, and even in New York, just the differences is crazy. So I mean, that would definitely be one thing. I can't think of anything in particular aside from that. I just think the way they're organized and the way they're structured is just very unique and something that they take pride in their culture and their communities. And I think that's something we can definitely learn from. Like, you won't see any trash on the floor out there. Like, it's very clean, and they really value being from where they're from. And I think we need to, that's something we need to ingrain ourselves or implement in our society and our community. I think that will help, just taking more pride in where we come from and valuing that. I think there's something to be said about that. And I think Japanese people do that very well.
Wow. Man, you talk about value, and that's beautiful, man. And we talk about game after the sport that you participated in, man. So, like, let's talk about some of the valuable things that you've been able to do since you've been off the court, and some of the things that you are doing right now.
Yeah, so my transition really started in 2017. So
Mhm.
I'll kind of backtrack a little bit. That second year playing overseas, I came in the middle of the season. I tell the story a lot. We had a big break. We weren't playing any games, practicing for maybe an hour or two a day. And so being overseas, you naturally have a lot of time on your hands. And so I obviously didn't know my teammates well. I didn't know the city at all. I still didn't have Wi-Fi. And so
What?
How you
yeah,
have Wi-Fi in Japan? Come on,
man.
man.
Look, the team was on some other stuff.
They,
They weren't
they,
trying to give
they,
me
did
my
not, they
Wi-Fi.
did not want you to be great.
If I wanted Wi-Fi, I had to walk to Starbucks a mile away and get onto their Wi-Fi. But I was sitting in my loft and just thinking and reflecting on my career up until that point and just the amount of instability I had to go through and back and forth from overseas, missing family occasion, missing birthdays, holidays, all that stuff. And I knew that was something I didn't want to continue doing for the next several years of my life. So I started to think about, if basketball wasn't in the picture, who would I be and where would I be?
Mm.
Had no idea. And so, excuse me. And so I started to write as a means of trying to figure myself out and really therapy. And, to make a long story short, I started to share that content with other people. Came back home and, I published my first book, really just highlighting my story as an athlete, some of the key lessons that I took away from the game. And that started to open up doors as far as speaking, media opportunities, and really beginning that transition for me. And so that was the beginning of me starting to see myself as being more than an athlete and me being able to provide something that was valuable outside of dribbling a basketball to the world. And, I started to write for the Huffington Post and, started a branding agency. So did a lot of different things, really just try a lot of trial and error, trying to figure out, what my long-term game plan is going to be after sports. And, it's kind of led me to the point where I'm at now with Athletes Unheard and how I'm trying to make an impact when it comes to mental health.
Yeah,
Man,
amazing.
I wouldn't. So when it comes to, so you mentioned like sharing, the things that you wrote with other people,
Mhm.
so during that process, right? Did you like get things legalized, or did you speak to somebody like before you start sharing it with people, or you just kind of did it out of the goodness of your heart, and in return of looking for something? Or like, how did you have to protect yourself, or did you have the mindset, well, just let me go into it? Because what a lot of athletes, whenever they transition from the game, they try to do something like that, and they probably leave out that part and telling the story. And so I just wanted to see if we can catch that, and if your route was easy, or if it was difficult for you to share something with other people.
So, I mean, I've always been very transparent and open about what I've been through in life and certain situations that I've experienced. And so I felt like, it was some hesitancy with me telling my story and kind of sharing that side of myself. I think, anybody naturally will kind of feel like that. But I felt like if I didn't tell my story, if I didn't talk about the truth about what it takes to become a professional athlete, then I would be doing an injustice to other people who look up to me, other athletes who were coming behind me who might needed that advice.
Mhm.
And so when I started to really talk about my story and my life, I just did it. I just did it because, I wanted to be an inspiration. I wanted to be the person that I needed on this journey. And, I got in touch with a publisher, editor, and went through that whole process and really obviously didn't know much about, publishing a book or even, what that it would entail. But to me, it was just more trying to learn something new, and trying to do something that I know would make a difference in somebody else's life. So it wasn't really about me. My story is not about me. It's about how can I use my story to make a difference in somebody else's life. And that's just how I looked at it.
And what pushed you to that piece, to making it about someone else, other people? Sometimes it can be all about us, and being an elite athlete, an elite performer, it very much is about, I got to take care of me. I got to make sure that I'm locked in. So what was it that inspired you to say, you know what? No, this is bigger than me.
That's a great question. I think partially it just goes back to my DNA, just who I am as a person. I tell people all the time, like past middle school, I was never the best basketball player on any team that I played for. I played with a lot of really good athletes throughout my life, and I probably wasn't in the top 3 of the most talented on any team, but I was always the guy who was willing to do the things that other people weren't willing to do and to do anything to help the team win. And so I was always sacrificing myself for the betterment of the team. And so I just look at it in the same vein. Like anything we do in life, it's really not about us. Like this podcast is not about me. It's about, your audience. What can I deliver? What type of value I can give to your audience? So I think that in anything we're doing in life, business, professionally, athletically, you have to look at it as how can I use myself to improve or to help the greater cause or the greater mission to help us all succeed. And that's just the perspective I try to take and bring to everything that I try to do in life. Because that's what it's about. That's ultimately what it is. That's what business is. It's about solving problems for other people. And so when you understand that, then it helps you get back to the root of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place.
Love it, man. So a number of transitions, obviously, pursuit of the dream, and then, becoming a professional athlete, transitioning out of that. What was the most difficult part? I mean, I'm going to ask you a question later. It's going to dive into this a little bit more, but what was the most difficult part in all those different transitions? You went to a foreign country where most of the people did not look like you. They did not sound like you, right? At all. Like some people talk about, I could be someplace different. Like, really? Can you really? Right. So someplace completely different, your ebbs and flows, transitioning out. One of the most difficult parts of all that.
It's a tough question. I would probably say walking away from the game. And I think most athletes would agree with that. Like separating your identity from being something that you've been your whole life. Like I was always Malcolm the athlete, Malcolm the basketball player, and now becoming Malcolm the author. That
it's a little different ring to it.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I never had aspirations to be an author. Like it'd be different if that was something I always wanted to do, but I had trouble disassociating my identity from being an athlete. And I struggled with that probably up until last year, honestly. So it took me a good 3 years to really see myself as something other than just being an athlete. And I knew, like deep down inside, I knew I wouldn't have, wasn't going to be an athlete forever. I think most athletes realize that. But coming to grips with that and actually stepping aside from that identity and figuring out what the next 30, 40 years is going to look like is tough, no matter if you are LeBron James or, you finish playing in high school. It is what it is. It's a tough transition. And it takes time. So I tell athletes, like, you got to be patient and understand that this process isn't going to happen overnight.
It's while the patience that you mentioned, that being an important piece of it. And also for those of y'all listening or watching, and the notion of like that we're all human, we all have these struggles. That's what I want people to also understand, because everyone's going to retire from something. Yeah. Everyone's going to retire from something or need to walk away. So sometimes they see a professional athlete, they see you going to Japan. Oh no, it's easy for him to walk away, because they go, wait a minute, what about your own personal life? Because full transparency, I'm one of the top 3-point shooters in LA fitness history. I mean, that's my journey. That if we're going to talk about it. So now stepping away from the game, it's like, do I get a new membership? Where do I go from here? So it happens to everyone is what I'm trying to say.
We all go through it in some way.
Heck yeah, Prince.
No, that's awesome, man. I love what you're doing. What who was your inspiration growing up as a basketball player? And with you making that transition, what was that inspiration that allowed for you to forge forward and create, your own lane?
Good questions. I would say that my inspiration as a basketball player was definitely Tracy McGrady, but my inspiration in life,
T-Mac.
Yeah, T-Mac was that dude.
Yes, sir.
But my inspiration in life was my mom. Like single parent growing up in the inner city, watching her sacrifice to raise my brother and I. Like I give her all the credit in the world to the person I am today, and she was the real inspiration for, me wanting to pursue this dream of being a professional athlete. It was something I obviously loved, but I saw it as a way that I could take care of my family. I think what most athletes do. So I give her that credit. But transitioning out of the game, I mean, I looked up to a lot of people, especially Black entrepreneurs, people who I saw that were paving the way, you know, and really kind of setting the bar for what a Black successful business person looks like. And I give, you know, credit to people like Maverick Carter. He's one of the people that, you know, I highly respect in the sports and entertainment world, and what he's done with LeBron James, I think, is nothing short of remarkable. Magic Johnson and what he's built. I look at, you know, being in the media space, I look at a lot of, you know, Black media entrepreneurs such as Byron Allen. I think, you know, he's kind of under the radar. A lot of people don't know about him, but he's a monster. He's very successful.
Love money and money will love you back. That's one of his lines. Ooh, yeah, man. Keep going, man. I just love Byron Allen as well, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So, you know, just people like that who, you know, like I said, has set the bar, and people who I aspire to be like, you know, one day. So
amazing. So in overcoming life's transitions and things that you've gone through, these transitions you've overcome, and then wanting to help those who are going to have that same experience or those who are experiencing it now, what's some advice that you would give to the younger you? Like, you happen to be walking down the street and you run into the younger version of you. You know, what's some advice that you give that younger Malcolm?
The first thing I would tell him is to enjoy the journey. Like, it goes by so fast. Like, I retired. It sounds crazy, but I retired from the game when I was 25, and to think like you're so young. You know, and you're so young, and that your basketball career, your athletic career goes by so fast. So just enjoy every single day, the hard practices, the losses, the ups and downs, like all of that. Just take it in and really, you know, cherish those moments. So I would tell them that first and foremost. The next thing I would say would probably be to, and it's so cliche, but really have a plan for what your life is going to look like after you're done. I think every athlete needs to understand that. And going back to role models and people who are inspirations to me, you know, LeBron James is somebody who I think is a great, like the epitome of more than an athlete. I mean, with everything that he's doing outside of basketball, he's showing other athletes that, hey, you can be an athlete and also do this, and this. And there's other examples, Serena Williams, you know, tons of athletes nowadays who are entrepreneurs, philanthropists, investors. And so I think that they're setting the example for other athletes to come, of what a modern day athlete looks like, and how you have to prepare for that transition early. Because going back to how difficult it is, you know, it's going to be challenging, but if you have a plan in place and you have an understanding of what your life is going to look like going forward, it helps ease with that difficulty of making that transition to being, you know, a former or retired athlete.
Wow. So if you don't mind me asking, I'm going to ask a brief follow-up question to that. How important are your friends? What kind of friends do you have? People often talk about, you know, how important friends are in your network. How important have your friends been throughout this journey?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever got that question before. But yeah, no, I definitely think so. I kind of bucket my friends. So I have friends who I come to certain things when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, but those might not be the same friends that I hang out with regularly or go out, you know, to a bar with. So I kind of bucket my friends in certain ways to where I know how to kind of navigate those relationships. But I think in any regard, you know, the people you surround yourself with are essentially going to decide the person that you are in the future. And so you always want to surround yourself with people who inspire you, who uplift you, but also that you enjoy being around, and that you can just let yourself be who you are around them. And so, you know, my friends have been pivotal through this time period, through me trying to figuring out, you know, what my long-term game plan is going to be, whether I need to bounce ideas off of them or just talk to them about something I'm going through. You know, so I think relationships definitely matter, and you know, obviously in any capacity of life.
Nice, man. So I'll take it back real quick. You mentioned what you would tell your younger self about enjoying the process. how do you tell somebody to enjoy the process when we got to run gases, horses, you know, and those are moments where we sit down, we question ourselves like, man, should I be in here? I'll be better off playing rec ball or doing something else, man. Like I want to play basketball when I feel like it, not when I have to, so like how would you tell someone to enjoy the process?
Well, you can tell them that don't mean they're gonna listen,
right? Because if it was me, I'd be like, "What he's talking about? What was he talking? Enjoy the process, man. Another gas up, like here we go again, man. So how do you get people to like alter their mindset?
It's really hard. I think some athletes do get it. I think that when you really love your sport and you really love just the craft to get better, just the overall energy of being around your teammates and having that shared mission, that common goal of trying to win. You're gonna look back and you're gonna find that you did enjoy the process more than you thought you did. I look back on my college days and I remember some of the hardest practices where like nothing was clicking and our coaches were mad and we just had to run all practice. Those were some of the best days. Like me and my teammates, we talk about those moments to this day. Like, you remember when coach did this and this and then so-and-so talked back and we had to do it. Like, those are the moments that you look back in hindsight, you're like, damn, like I missed that. That was fun. It was tough at the time, but that was the process. And so I think when you look back on your career, it's the difficult practices and the tough days and the games and the moments that you never thought you was going to pull through. That's what you really remember, and that's what you cherish at the end of the day.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Well said.
It's funny, those difficult moments really do make people who they are.
Mm-hmm.
People deny them, sometimes because it's not the sexy thing to discuss, but it's really important that folks, like, in order to develop, in order to be anything great, because folks, it's funny because folks often admire greatness, but that's them looking at the end product. People see you playing college basketball, professional basketball, and that's what they admire, not knowing what it took for you to get to that elite level. Really quick, for those, for let's say someone who wants to be elite, I'm just going to say that. What's some advice? Like right now, if you're like, yo, you want to be elite, give them a couple sentences right now. Give them a couple. Someone watching this, they're like, I want to be great. What do you have to say to them, Michael? You could be as candid as you'd like to be.
They better fall in love with failure.
Bar. Let me just stop you right there.
Are we doing that today?
We're going to have to repeat that one more. You got to say that 2 more times, man, to complete the cycle.
They better learn to fall in love with failure. I'm telling you right now.
One more time. I'm asking you, please.
Fall in love with failure. I'm telling you. It's real.
I love it.
It's real. It's real. It's a part of it all. Like, you're not going to meet one successful person in life in any endeavor that hasn't, effed up or gone through their fair share of failures. It's just a part of the game. And so if you don't like getting knocked down, if you don't like, messing up and things not working, going your way, then it might not be for you, So I think you need to really have something that you genuinely are connected with, that you are passionate about, that you love, and that you can't be without. Because if you don't, you will quit. You will quit because you're going to run into obstacles. You're going to mess up, and push comes to shove. Like, if you don't love it, you're just going to bow out. So fall in love with failure.
And he said it again. I want to drop my mic, but I'm not able to.
He's too expensive. You don't want to drop that mic. That's nice.
Brand new mic. You better hold on to that thing.
I felt like I had a sexual chocolate moment. Sexual chocolate.
That boy good. Boy, I thought it was a collection plate. I thought it was a garbage. Anyway, yo, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
what's next? So obviously, best-selling author, moving and shaking at the company that's up and running. What's next for you? If someone said, "Hey, a year from now, where would you like to be? What do you want people to know about you at that point? What's next?"
So, my primary focus is building this platform, Athletes Unheard. And I think, with everything that we've gone through as a country, but specifically looking at athletes, and then a lot of athletes going without their sport for the first time with COVID and not being around their teammates, and being a witness to the amount of social injustice that we've gone through this past year, there's a lot of people out here struggling, and there's not a lot of resources to help athletes. There's not a lot of outlets to where they can come and they can discuss what they're going through or their emotions or their feelings. And so Athletes Unheard, we're really just trying to build this community, this safe space for athletes to share their stories, and to really get resources around mental health, because I think it's a topic that's been swept under the rug for too long. And we're just trying to bring it to the forefront and make sure that we're in a place to where we could be a catalyst for this movement, and really just be a resource for all athletes to understand that we care about them. You know, we want you to be in the best headspace on and off the playing field, and to ensure that you know, you have the support here. And so that's my focus. That's, you know, what's driving me every day. And like, as I said before, I think it's a ton of potential for the platform, and we're going to be exploring a lot of different opportunities down the road.
Thank you for that. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Hey, so let me ask you this then. What do you want your legacy to look like? What do you want people to say about your legacy? Because obviously, hold on, because obviously you're the only one that has your name on the internet. So.
It's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing and a curse. I want people to remember me as someone who just gave more than he received. I think, you know, going back to, you know, this not being about me, it's about other people. It's about, you know, did I spend my time on this earth serving other people, being a servant, and really just pouring myself and using my experiences, my story, to help somebody else live a better life. And so that's all I'm trying to do here, is to leave this place a little better than what I came here as, and be someone who just gave more than he received.
Love it. Give more than you receive. Give more than you receive. For those of y'all listening, watching, feeling this, you know, there's people often talk about the ideal world without putting in the effort to create their own personal ideal world. And part of that is being willing to give more than you receive. If we are to live in this world that we say we want to, and doing that in our individual places, man, amazing. So how can people, obviously we see on your website, social media on the ticker, how can people learn more about you, seek you out as an industry professional and lead? How can they learn more about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty accessible everywhere online, every social media platform. As you said, I'm the only Malcolm Lemmons, so I'm not too hard to find. And you can check out the Athletes Unheard on every social media platform at Athletes Unheard, and our website at athletesunheard.com. So
amazing. Prince, any final words or final thoughts from you?
Man, my final words is just that, man, super proud of you. Love what you're doing, man. Keep doing it. Mental health is definitely something that needs to come to the forefront so we can start strengthening our athletes, our men, our women, you know, and talk about something that has been a taboo for a very long time, man. You know, it's time to debrief, speak up about it, right? Because it's very therapeutic. So I commend what you're doing, man. Keep up the good work. And if there's any way that we can help you, please let us know.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thank you for this opportunity.
Right. Oh, anytime and always. Boom, that just happened. Another rock star guest here on Game Beyond the Game. Officially want to thank you, Malcolm, for being here with us, being so transparent and sharing all of your experiences. And for you all that are here watching and listening, thank you for joining us, you know, as Malcolm shared his story. And for those of you all who continue to watch, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Prince Andrews Jr. YouTube page, okay? And also make sure you join us here next week, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Game Beyond the Game Facebook page. Until next time, look forward to having you. Be a good one. Peace.
Have a good one, y'all. Peace.